Hello guys, in this video here we will be taking a look at the Asus 28-inch 4K Asus TUF VG289Q monitor. This is like a fairly low buying budget 4K monitor. They call it a gaming monitor, but I can say now I wouldn't really recommend it for gaming, especially if you are on PC. When it comes to the design of the monitor, I like it a lot. It's a good mix between like a gaming monitor or office monitor. It doesn't like have any really bright colors or features that stands out. It's just overall plain with really nice and thin borders, and this lip down here is not too thick either. And I have to say it looks fairly nice. It's a standard 16:9 aspect ratio, and the stand here is more of the office stand, very like big base and such, but we have height adjustability. We can turn it around like this, and it also is able to tilt it. This is a 28-inch monitor. I'm not sure why they like put it at 28-inch compared to the more standard 27-inch, but I like the size for using it as a single monitor. And as we can see here, it's powered by an external power adapter. I don't really like to have an external power adapter because that's one more thing to hide away, but it is good if something were to break. You don't have to like open the monitor to change out the power or the power supply. Then you can just change out this external one, and I think that is one of the reasons why Asus does that too. Yeah, here we can see the stand, and there isn't like too much to it, but we can see some, I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but like some indentations or design features here on the back. When it comes to inputs, we have the power source, display port, and I think two HDMI 2.0s, and also aux jack in the back there, I believe. So the screen also got a built-in speaker, which can come in handy if you're like watching. The sound quality on the speaker itself is not like super great, but it works for like just watching videos and such. But it's not like you want to use it for gaming or listening to music. It's fairly loud, but it doesn't really have too much like bass and such to it. It's got this like standard interface when it comes to menus, where you find the most Asus products, which I like. It's easy to navigate around with that like joystick thing. Yeah, so this is a good thing here, and we can see I have it turned it on to that adaptive FreeSync. Even though I have a G-Sync or an NVIDIA video card. But I was playing, and I will talk about this later, but this was absolutely necessary for me to at least be able to play a little bit on this monitor. So it is a IPS display, so I will have to say I really like the colors, and the screen is also 350 nits, so it's fairly bright as well. It's not like the brightest, but it's far from the most dim either. So I think the colors pop, and if I were to use this at night, I would have to turn down the brightness because it would be a little bit too bright. But 350 nits is a good place when it comes to the brightness overall on the screen. It is IPS display, so the the contrast ratio is only 1/1000, so that could be better, but it's nothing that I think of too much. But we have nice colors and such. It's got a 5 millisecond input lag. That isn't any bad at all. But the thing about this monitor here is the 60 Hz update frequency. Even if you turn down the resolution, you're still stuck with that 60 Hz frequency. And I have to say, playing first-person shooters, that is not enough. It just feels very laggy and old school. If I were to like play a flight simulator with this setup here, I wouldn't really want this monitor either, because that is like such a demanding game. So running it at 4K would hinder the performance. So then I would just choose a 21:9 wider screen with a resolution of what is it, 3280 or something, times 1440p, which will give you better performance and also overall better experience. So the first thing about this monitor is the biggest downside to it, and I have to say, don't buy it if you're supposed to buy first-person shooter games. But for media, office works, and MMORPG or whatever their name are, I tried RuneScape, yeah, that looks good, but first-person shooters, absolutely not. So yeah, overall, like, picture quality and such is really good, I believe, and it is an upgrade from like a 1440p screen. But when it comes to gaming, the biggest downside with this monitor, it's the hertz. So if you're maybe on a console and you're really looking for 4K, I don't really think your console will go over 60 FPS anyways. But then still, if you want to turn down the resolution and play at a higher frequency or frame rate, yeah, you can't see the effect there either. So I can't really recommend it for console players either. For PC players, absolutely not. So it only comes down to media and very slow-paced games that will use this monitor. Yeah, I had said it a lot of times now, the screen is absolutely perfect when it comes to picture quality, and I really dig the 4K display when it comes to like text and such, but it's not possible to play with it. For me personally, I really prefer a 34-inch display that's got a 4040p resolution. When it comes to resolution, I think it's better for media and office work. I also find it better to have a wider display. I also like the curvature, because when you are used to a curvature screen and goes to a flat one, the flat one just starts to bend, like, because it's different length to like the middle of the screen to the edges. So it, like, if this is flat, it just wraps like this when I look at it. So I really prefer a curved monitor like this, and I have to say, this gives me a much better gaming experience. Since it wraps around, it's wider and also much higher frequency. So yeah, I can't really recommend this monitor, and I'm trying to look at other reviews and such to see what other people say about it, but I can't really find any people. I haven't really looked good enough, but they don't really complain that much about the frequency, but I find it absolutely unplayable. Turning off G-Sync as well, even though my frame rate is very high, not very high, but like 90 and such at maximum settings. Without G-Sync, it's absolutely horrible. Then it feels like you're playing at 30 FPS. Turning on G-Sync, yeah, we are stuck at 60 FPS, like it feels like, and I can't really track the targets and such. It just makes it much harder and just feels so slow, and I'm always like a step behind my enemies. So you can't really like round the corner and be the first one to shoot them. So it's a fairly bright monitor at 350 nits, and it is an IPS display, and I can't really see any like bleed through hotspots on this one. But if you turn down the brightness to how I more see it with my eyes, we can see that with the black image on screen, the screen doesn't really get very dark, so it's not like you will have the best kind of scenes when it comes to dark pictures and videos and such, and we can see this here. Overall the colors are very nice on this one, but my monitor got delivered with this 1 pixel error here. It's a always on green dot or pixel, and this seems to be fairly common with the TUF series line to have some dead pixels, or at least one. So I think maybe they delivered these ones with like a lower bin LCD display that they don't use on their top models and such. When it comes to ghosting, I wouldn't say it's bad at all, but the frequency or the updating frequency of this monitor makes the image fairly blurry, even though when turning it onto a slower pace it looks very good, but still the updating frequency is a huge issue here with this monitor. But ghosting is really not a problem on this one here. And also, if you like think that you can turn down the resolution to get a higher frequency, that is not possible, and we can see this here as well. I was like maybe hoping, I'm not like too knowledgeable when it comes to like how these kinds of monitors work, but I was maybe hoping that we could at least turn it down to 1440p to gain some frequency, but that is not possible with how the hardware in it works. So yeah, that is a bummer. But for MMORPG, yeah, I don't really remember the correct phrasing or that kind of thing, but RuneScape with all of these bright colors, even though I can't set it to 4K because this is an old game, looks very good, and this is more what you can use this kind of monitor for. But otherwise, when looking at videos and such, the picture is absolutely fantastic. Just very overall, the colors look nice, the brightness is there, and also the resolution. I've always like used 1440p screens now for maybe the almost like 10 last years now, so I wasn't like really thinking that it would be a huge deal upgrading to 4K, but I could like see the benefit of using 4K, but I use my PC mostly for gaming, and I think hardware wise we aren't really there to step over to 4K gaming yet. You can see here with the music and such, you can play music and such, but it's not a very good experience overall.